Hello 10th class. Welcome to the economics lesson of sectors of Indian economy. Ma, I hope you have understood what are the three sectors that we are having. The primary, the secondary and the tertiary sectors. These are the three sectors, and we have even learned what are the economic activities which have been carried out in each sector, and what is the difference between the market activity and the what are the market activities and what are the non-market activities as well. Now today let us see what are the historical changes which these sectors have undergone. Okay. Now throughout the world, wherever you see, initially the primary sector was considered to be very important. To any of the country in the world, primary sector was very important. I am talking about a situation some hundreds of years back. Okay. The primary sector means the agricultural sector was very important. Man was totally dependent on agriculture for the basic necessities. Khana, pina, everything was from agriculture only. Yes, and slowly many changes have come in the farming techniques as well. Yes, there was a lot of change that we have seen in the agriculture sector also. The farmer who in the early stages used the traditional methods of farming have slowly shifted to the modern techniques. Yes, and because of this shift to the modern techniques, the production with respect to agriculture also increased drastically. Agriculture started to provide employment to many. So this was the situation of the primary sector in the initial stages. Okay. See here, there was a lot of increase in the production because of the use of new farming techniques, maybe because of the use of new fertilizers and pesticides. So there was a lot of production, and it also provided very good employment. Okay. In those days, we are speaking about some hundreds of years ago, there was no other way in which people can work except agriculture. But along with agriculture, many of the art and crafts also flourished in those days. Okay. So this was the situation. There the contribution with respect to the production was entirely done by the primary sector only. So primary sector had the king's place in those days. Now let us see how this shift has happened to the secondary sector. Now, so as things were going on like that, after say some 100 years of time, industrial revolution started, and this started in Europe, students. Okay, and with the start of industrial revolution came up new factories. Many machines were invented. Many factories were established in different parts of Europe, and that spread slowly to the entire world. So when the factories were established, when machines were invented, then obviously there will be a shift from the primary sector to the secondary sector. Now the importance which is given to the secondary sector increased. The production in the secondary sector also increased. Here the primary sector, which provided most of the employment in the initial stages, now this employment slowly shifted to the secondary sector. People started to work in the factories, leaving their farms. Okay. So in this way, primary sector, the secondary sector, due to the establishment of factories, the secondary sector flourished. Now this started to play a king's role in the economy. Okay. Earlier the role which was played by the primary sector now shifted to the secondary sector. Simple thing. Here in primary sector, let us take an example. There was a lot of production of apples. Okay, apples were abundantly produced. Okay, now they had the farmers had surplus. Now when they have surplus, then what will they do? They'll simply sit like that and see at the apples. No, something has to be done. So as we all say, necessity is the mother of invention. So when there were lot of apples or lot of fruits which were present with the farmer, then the invention of a machine came which could produce jam from these apples. So in this way, a machine was invented which could produce jam. So these apples became jam because of the presence of the secondary sector. Okay, so in this way, as I said, secondary sector played the king's role. See here, people shifted to work in the factories. People began to use factory goods available at cheaper rates. Now, because of the increase in the number of factories, what will happen? When factories are increases, then bulk production is possible in a short time. In a short time period, more of production in less time is possible, and this made the price of the products also to become cheap. Okay, so people, they started to use obviously the people, it is a common attitude of people to buy cheaper products. Wherever we go to the market, it is a very common psychology that we search for the same product whether we can get it at a cheaper price in some other shop. Yes or no? So that was the same thing which happened over there only. People started to purchase products which were made in factories, which were available at cheaper rates when compared to the handmade products. Okay, ma? So here the secondary sector had a major role to play, and slowly after years this transition happened, and there was a sudden drastic change with respect to the importance, and now it was the time of the tertiary sector, students. Okay, though the employment in tertiary sector is less, its contribution is more, its total production is more. Tertiary sector has gained its importance more and more in the recent years, that you all know, na? Because of the advent of information technology, the hotels, the transport, whatever it might be, tertiary sector's importance has really increased a lot. And students, even today, tertiary sector employs, the employment in tertiary sector is less when compared to the agricultural sector, even today. But the total production in tertiary sector is more. The contribution of the tertiary sector with respect to GDP of the country or with respect to the economy of the country is more. Okay, so here again the tertiary sector has become the king. We will discuss about all the three sectors, how this shift has happened, why primary sector lost its importance, why tertiary sector has now become very important. All these in context to India we will be studying in the next video. I think till now you understood this concept, how this shift has happened. Yes, ma? We have seen the historical changes which went through the primary, the secondary and the tertiary sector, students. I hope you all have understood it very clearly. Now let us see the primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in India. What were their contributions in India? How has this contribution changed as time passed on? Okay, now here this we'll be doing with the help of a graph. Okay, here see, observe this graph clearly, students. Here you have given 2 years, 1973-94 to 2013-2014. So this blue one is the primary sector, the orange secondary sector and the green is the tertiary sector. So see the contribution of primary sector in 1973-74. The contribution of primary sectors was more when compared to the secondary and the tertiary sector. But when you come to 2013-14, means in a span of 40 years, the contribution of the tertiary sector has grown drastically. See the difference over here, how drastically the contribution of the tertiary sector or the total production of the services in the tertiary sector have grown rapidly when compared to the primary or the secondary sector. And here in these years, in this decade, we can even observe that the contribution of the primary sector has become very, very less over here, students. Okay, and after the tertiary sector, it is the secondary sector which has occupied the position, and in the last is the primary sector. So see the sudden shift of contribution with respect to production. Okay, and see here ma, you have got a few questions over here. Which was the largest producing sector in 1973-74? Which is the largest producing sector in 2013-14? So you need to answer these questions and send the answers to me. This is your homework for today. Okay, now so by through this graph we can easily find out what is the contribution of the primary sector or the secondary sector or the tertiary sector with respect to the years given. So understood this concept clearly? Now students, in the next chapter, in the next video or tomorrow's class, I'll be teaching you about the rising importance of the tertiary sector with respect to production. Why tertiary sector has become so important in India? That we'll be dealing in the next class.